from Bishopstone Yarns. I'd like to welcome you all here, and for those people who have seen my podcast before, welcome back. It's lovely to see you again. It's lovely to have you here for this little bit of time. And if you're a new viewer, welcome. I'm so happy to meet you, and it's so nice to have you here at this podcast. As I was saying, I'm Kathy, and this is a Bishopstone Yarns podcast. It's mainly a knitting and spinning and crafting podcast where I talk about mainly my knitting, my bit of spinning, a bit of sewing, and other kind of crafts that kind of I might be doing at this point in time. And so you can find me as Bishopstone Yarns on Instagram, as Bishopstone Yarns on Facebook, and you can find me at Ravelry as Bishopstone. And at Ravelry I've just started a new page, a new group for Bishopstone Yarns. So I'm really happy for people. I'd love everyone to come over and join the group and just have a bit of a chat about crafts, about what you're doing, what you're making, maybe even what you're thinking about making, or just thoughts about life and crafting in general. So hopefully I'll see some of you over there and we can have a bit of a chat as well on Ravelry. And yeah, and so I suppose I should let you know where I'm coming to you from. I am coming to you from Tasmania, which is the little island to the south of Australia. And you find me here at the moment in the corner of my studio. And yes, that's probably about as much as I can tell you about where I am at the moment. And I guess today's podcast, I'm going to just talk a little bit about what I've been making, a couple of things I've finished, and probably a little talk about what I might be doing, thinking about doing during the year. And yeah. Well, the first thing is I've been thinking how quickly 2 weeks have gone between my last knitting podcast. I've started doing like 1 week a knitting podcast, and then the next week a sit and spin podcast where I sit and spin and chat, and hopefully it's a time for everyone else to be able to just take some time out of their week and sit down and enjoy a bit of making and a little bit of you time, some time so you can sit down and enjoy what you're doing. And yeah, while I spin along. So that's, if you want to join me for spinning, that's fantastic, or you're knitting or you're crocheting, sewing, whatever you're doing. But basically, yeah, so that's every second week. And then so it's been 2 weeks since I've done the knitting kind of side of the podcast. And I was just thinking this morning, where's the time gone? What have I done in 2 weeks? The 2 weeks seem to have gone incredibly quickly. But that's a really good thing about doing this podcast, is it kind of really makes me stop and think about what I'm doing and be, I guess, slightly more focused on what I'm doing and what I'm planning to do, and where I'm going in the future with what I'm going to be doing. And so it's really nice to have all of you viewers along with me while I'm talking about that. Now, as we're getting up closer to Easter, so Easter is at the end of this week, I think. Where are we? We are, I think it's April, is it April the 12th today, the 11th? And yes, so I was wanting to do a little bit of Easter knitting, and I had found a handwritten pattern that I had in my big huge pile of patterns for a chicken. And so I started knitting. I had some hand spun wool left over that was yellow, so I started knitting, and these are the little chickens that I made, and so they've got a little opening at the bottom. I'll show you on this one. I've got another one here where you can where you can pop a little egg, hide a little Easter egg in, and then have them as a little decoration. I did have a little play around with the beak. I've had play around with the pattern a little bit, just varying it a little bit. So this is one, maybe if I put it against my jumper. And so this one I just used some kind of felted yarn that I had for the beak. And then I wasn't really all that impressed with that one. So then I tried a little bit of white felt to put on, and I haven't decided whether I'm going to put eyes and a comb on them as well, like a little comb at the top, but I kind of thought I might even just leave them as they are, because I quite like them. I quite like the look of them as they are. And sometimes when you put an eye on a toy or a little knitted animal, it can change the character of it a lot. And so I'm not sure, but at the moment I'm going to leave this as it is, just sitting with no eyes, and sit him there. I'll show you how he sits. And so I have a few others. See if I can get them all to sit up here at the same time. So I've got a little family of chickens, even though I think some of them look a little bit like ducks, but so there's my little family of chickens that I'm going to put on the table to help decorate for Easter. And yeah, so they were nice. I don't know where the pattern came from. All I've got written down on the top of the pattern is chickens. And I think I've had it for a very, very long time, so it might have even been something that someone else had written out for me, and then I had kind of been given, or I don't know, I'm not sure where it's come from. But I thought they were quite cute. As I said, I've changed some of the patterns a little bit. By this one I have added the garter stitch here, so I've just done knit stitch, so I've done the rib and knit stitch, and then into a stocking stitch for the head, whereas this one here I went through and just did stocking stitch. So I started off with a rib and then went into the stocking stitch and kept that like that. I had thought about doing some in some different colours, in some browns, but I thought I'd just stop at 4. I thought that would be enough for the moment. I'm not sure whether I prefer the white beaks or the red beaks at the moment, but anyway, they'll make a nice little display on the table. And the other thing that I finished is I found some leftover sock yarn that I had knitted. I think knitted myself a pair of rainbow socks in, and I didn't have very much left over at all. So I made a pair of little baby socks, which are by the Twirl pattern by Drops Design. And the good thing about these is they can fit, well, these are designed to fit like a 6 to a 9-month-old, but because of their stretch, it doesn't really matter how long or short the baby's foot is, they just kind of slip on. And also they are dual purpose, because I have made some of these before where you can either use them as little hand warmers as well, so like little mittens to pop over the baby's hands, or you can use them as socks. So this was just the leftover of the rainbow yarn, and as you can see, I mean, that I didn't have enough in the ball to do a matching pair, so I just knitted them up as they came, and that was basically, I used up just about all of the yarn that that I had left, and so yeah, I quite like those. I mean, I have done a few of the adult patterns of the twisted, very similar kind of spiral socks for adults, where there's no heel, and so you can just pull it on. And the theory to the adult ones is that because there's no heel, and every time you pull it on, your heel goes into a slightly different spot, then you're not going to be wearing out the heel section. Whether or not, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't mind when I knit socks, I don't mind knitting heels, but sometimes with baby socks, it can be quite difficult because babies can have, I mean, their feet grow so quickly, and especially if you're buying baby socks as a gift or for someone else's baby, then sometimes it's a bit tricky because you don't know exactly how long their foot is, how big the sock needs to be, and there's a lot of stretch, a lot of give in here, so it can accommodate quite a large leg. I think they're quite cute. I love the colours. I love the rainbow yarn when I made it for myself for socks, and I just think they're so cute. I really, really like them. So that's the Twirl pattern by Drops Design, which you can find on Ravelry. And so I knitted this in with 2.5 millimeter needles, and it was just, I'm not quite, I mean, I don't no longer had the tag for the sock yarn, but I mean, it was one of the more well-known brands. Maybe if I can find out what the brand of the sock yarn is, I'll put it on in the details below this video. Otherwise, yes, it was just like a standard sock yarn. I just love the colours. I just think they're so beautiful, and there's nothing nicer that I think than putting babies in nice bright colours. And yeah, so they're the little socks. So that is really all that I have finished in the way of knitting in the last 2 weeks. I have been kind of doing other knitting, as you can see here. I have my Ranunculus, so I have been knitting on my Ranunculus. I think last time I showed you I was up to here where the this little divider is, and then I finished off the pattern, and then I have divided for the sleeves. So I've got the sleeves out here on each side, and then now at the moment I'm just doing knitting round and round and round, and yeah, so I mean it's been very enjoyable. It's been quite quick in terms of I haven't been knitting on it as much as I had hoped. I haven't had as much time to knit on it as I'd hoped, but so far so good. I'm really liking it. I like the look of it. I like the feel of it, and I'm actually really looking forward to when it's finished and washing it and seeing the mohair kind of bloom up a bit as well. But yeah, no, it's looking quite nice. I'm going to have to find another pair of stitch holders so I can try it on soon. I've got stitch holders here and another long pair over here holding on to these sleeves, and I've been thinking about getting a pair of the those stitch markers that kind of slip onto the end of the needle, and then you can just pull it all the way around and leave it there, because even though I thought I had enough stitch markers, stitch holders, I've got, I mean, these are my Knit Pro cable needles with just little end stoppers on them, and yeah, I maybe should have put something smaller. Maybe I should put some waste yarn on the sleeves so I can pop this cable needle onto the bottom and then try this on and see how it's going, and also how long I will eventually end up having it. I'm not quite sure. I haven't quite decided how long I really want it, whether I don't think it's the kind of jumper that I would want to have too long, but I'm not sure. I'll wait and try it on once I work out what I'm going to use as another. I might just put another needle on the bottom, maybe just another cable needle, so then I can try it on and decide how long I'm going to make it. And then of course I'll just have to do the sleeves and then it'll be done. But it's very easy knitting from here on, so hopefully it shouldn't take that much longer to finish. And I think I can understand why so many people, so many podcasters and people have knitted so many ranunculuses, because it is really nice. It's a really enjoyable jumper to knit, and I have really enjoyed knitting it. So we'll see if this is one of many ranunculuses that I might end up doing. So one of the reasons why I hadn't got too far on the knitting on this one was because, of course, in the middle of all of that, I decided to start a new knit, and I decided to cast on a shawl. So Interweave Knits is doing a knit along shawl, and the shawl is called the Ancient Gemstone Shawl. And so I thought, oh, well, that would be fun. Since I just finished the Woolly Thistle knit along, I thought, oh, it would be fun to do another knit along. I must admit, I haven't, I found it a little bit harder, I guess, to get onto the Interweave discussion group and be part of that than it was. It was a lot easier with the Woolly Thistle because they were on Facebook and on Ravelry, and so I guess I'm on that a lot more than I am on Interweave. But anyway, it's still been fun. I've still been enjoying my shawl, and so I've been keeping it here in this bag, which I made earlier this year, a little sheepy bag. So the material for this I had found just, I guess, in about a 20-minute drive away. There's a lovely little town called Richmond, which is one of the old historic towns in Tasmania. A very touristy, well, not touristy, but a lot of tourists go there because it's still got a lot of the lovely old sandstone buildings and the convict jail, and it's got the oldest bridge as well. But so anyway, I went into one of the shops there, and she had this lovely sheep material. If you can see the dogs there as well, the working dogs, border collies. And I just thought the material was so cute. I had to buy some. Then, of course, I just came home and made myself just, it's just a kind of a regular square bag with the kind of, I don't know what you call those corners, but, you know, the squared off corners. And yes, so it works really well as a little knitting bag. So I've got my shawl in here. I will show you first the wool that I've been using. So this is, I'm using my handspun, and I've got a purple handspun. So this is, the wool for this is between like a lace weight and a worsted. And well, I don't know, kind of really light worsted, I suppose, and fingering like kind of, and so this is merino, This is a purple, and I've got a blue. Will I be able to hold all of them together? And then I'm using, finishing off the pink, which I had used in the first of the baa-ble bonnet, which I did for the woolly thistle knit along. So they're the 3 different colours that I'm using for my shawl. And these 2, I think, were originally spun for a jumper that I had made for my daughter a couple of years ago, and these were kind of some of the leftover yarns that I had used for that. So the shawl so far is, this is what I've done so far. So you're starting off with, which end? Here we go. Starting off down here at this point and kind of working with 2 yarns all the way through. I don't know if you can see, it's a lovely kind of star. I think this is the, is it called the star stitch, I think? Where are we? If I show you, yes, there you go. You can see some of the white behind it. And then just graduating by going up through and changing the colours. So I'm actually loving this shawl so far. I love the colours. They're so me kind of colours. I like purples and pinks and that. So yeah, and I'm really enjoying the knit. But it did distract me quite a bit from the Ranunculus, because even though it's a fairly easy knit, this one, it is, you do have to pay attention to what you're doing, and sometimes of an evening, it's not always the best time sometimes when you're trying to concentrate on what you're doing and either watching TV or talking to people. So yeah, what do you think? I'm really happy with it, and I can't wait till it's finished so I can start wearing it, because the weather here, of course, is starting to get cooler, and we've just had a couple of really, really warm days, and so I think the other day was 27 degrees Celsius, and it was beautiful and it was lovely. We went for walking along the beach, and then today it's only going to get to, I think, 15 degrees Celsius, and so of course a nice new shawl is exactly what I need for this time of the year. So the sooner I finish it, the sooner I can start wearing it and enjoying it, and especially of an evening when I am out taking the dog for a walk. That will be really good as well. Yes, so hopefully by the next knitting podcast I will have that finished, and hopefully I will also have my Ranunculus finished as well. Now I guess I should talk about what I'm wearing. So for those people who've been watching this podcast before, you'll know this is the Magnolia Bloom, and now that the weather is getting a bit cooler, I can wear this. This is lovely. I mean, I'm really, really happy with this jumper. It's kind of like a, and because of the yarn, it's kind of an in-between kind of weather. It's, I mean, like, it's nice when a day like today when it's a bit cool, but it's not too cold. But yeah, it's very nice and light, and I'm really enjoying it. So I'm really enjoying wearing this, and I'm really enjoying the Magnolia Bloom. And that's also another one that I'm thinking I'll probably end up knitting another one of in the future as well. And I guess talking about what I have been knitting or not knitting, feels like I haven't actually been doing a great deal, considering I've only just finished these little pieces here. I have been spinning. Sorry, I had to have a little drink. So I have been doing some spinning during the week, and I have also been trying to go through all my patterns, because I have so many patterns. See some of them on the shelf behind me. And so I've been trying to go through my patterns and trying to tidy up. And I have actually come across a few projects that I thought, oh, I've got a few whips, and they're not all knitting whips. I came across an embroidery whip, which I had just popped away recently. I had been doing it, quite a bit of it, of an evening. And then when we got our puppy, and it was too difficult. I wasn't able to do any embroidery on the couch with her next to me of an evening, because she's so full of energy and jumping around the place. And so I put it away, and then I just came back across it the other day, and I thought, oh, I think I'm going to have to get back into, add that on my list of whips, even though it is not a knitting whip. But so where are we? This is the pattern that I'm doing, and so sorry about the rustling, just thinking, oh, I can show you. I have a lot to do. So I've done about that much, and I really enjoy hand sewing, and I really enjoy embroidery. It's not something that I've ever really done a lot of. I'm not particularly good at, but I do enjoy it. So that is going on to my pile of whips. They seem to be getting bigger. And of course, while I was going through all my things, I came across a whip that, and a knitting whip that had been sitting around. It has been sitting around for years. I'm not even quite sure how many years, but it seems to be a very, very long time. And it is the vernal equinox shawl. And I started knitting that years ago in a lovely blue silk. And I think it was when I only just got into knitting shawls, because I have knitted a large number of shawls. And for some reason I had started this silk one but hadn't really got very far, and then had just put it away. And so I found that the other day, and I thought, I really need to bring that out and actually start finishing that, which then of course made me start thinking about some of the other podcasters I've been watching. People have been either doing like a Make 9 for the year, or a bingo card type setup, where they write down a number of projects that they want to finish, and then when they finish them, they mark them off. And so if they're using the bingo card, you just use it like a bingo, and then when you're all finished, it's like bingo and it's done. And then I thought, well, maybe I could do something along the lines of a Make 9. So I started writing down some things that I would like to have finished in this year, and I got to 9 very quickly. I think I got over 9 actually very quickly. And then I talked about this a little bit on my last podcast, on my spinning podcast, about whether or not I wanted to put it out there publicly and say these are the things that I would like to finish in the year, because it's so hard to know what do I put on the list, where do I start, what do I finish. And having come across a couple of these whips that, especially the shawl that I had started years ago, I thought it would be a really good excuse, well, not excuse, but a good reason for me to have to finish those things rather than having them sitting around. I've got some other things that are some other unfinished objects that I have got some some cross stitches and things like that are actually finished, but then I haven't actually made them into anything or finished them off. So the actual work is finished, but I haven't finished making them into something. So some of those things I'm hoping to get finished during the year. But yes, so I can quickly go through some of the things that I wanted to get finished. So I was thinking I would like to have something on the go, like a nice, easy project on the go that I can pick up and put down, something along the line of a blanket and something that can use up lots of those little bits of the stash. And I thought, oh, a blanket would be really great because I do use them quite a bit. We do use them, especially in winter. And when the kids come over as well, sometimes they grab the blankets and then I don't have anything to use for myself. So I had been watching a podcast called Craft House Magic, and she makes some of the most adorable projects. And she had two blankets there that I was thinking I might do one of them for my, as my little blanket project. And one of them is triangulum blanket, which is a knitted one which uses lots of little triangles. And the other one is she had made a crocheted Nature's Walk blanket, which I really liked as well. So I might choose one of those to do as maybe the triangulum, maybe, because then you can use up lots and lots of little bits of leftover kind of yarn. That would be a good way and a good fun way to use up some of my hand spun as well. I think that would be, maybe that would be a good project to use up my hand spun. And so that could be the blanket. Then I was thinking my husband really wants another pair of socks, and so I suppose I should go through my sock yarn and see what I've got and make him a pair of socks. Since I have made myself socks, I've made the children socks, I should probably make him a pair of socks as well. And then I also had the Ranunculus on the list, but I have started the Ranunculus, so hopefully that will be finished this year, so then that can go off the list. And I'm still doing the Farmer's Wife sampler quilt, and that will probably take me the entire year, if not longer, to do the blocks. I don't know how long it'll take me to finish the actual quilt, but I mean, I'm just talking about the blocks. It's 111 blocks in the Farmer's Wife sampler quilt. So I think I could get those done in a year. And then the Hugs and Kisses pattern bag that I had bought on the Shop Hop, I would like to make this year. I've got two of those, so I definitely would like to get the smaller one with the mini hexagons finished and done this year, so that would probably be one of them. I have always loved the barbells hat, which is like a beanie which has got the motif around here is like little sheep, and so I've got that on my list. And I had a shawl on my list, so I think the shawl that I'm doing at the moment, I would put that down as another shawl, as the shawl, so that could be the knit along shawl, could be that. And the vernal equinox shawl, which I started many years ago and haven't done very much of in the silk, I would like to finish that one. The Birkin I think it's by Caitlin Hunter. So I have always loved that jumper, and I have been eyeing it off for years and years and years, and then I have just gone and bought it, the pattern. So, and I was thinking that would be a really nice project to do with my hand spun, to actually start from the very beginning and spin all the yarn and then knit the jumper. So that's a big project that I think I would like to at least get all the yarn spun by the end of the year, and hopefully start the jumper and finish it, but at least get the yarn spun. The other thing which I would really like to do is knit myself a Christmas jumper, and not an ugly Christmas jumper. I know a lot of people like to have like the ugly Christmas jumpers, even though I really, really like those and I think they're so cute. What I'm thinking about is more of a Scandinavian style jumper, cardigan, something in reds, whites, something like that, that has a Christmassy kind of feel about it. Not one that you can only just wear at Christmas time, but something that has that Christmas feel, so it'd be really nice to wear around Christmas time, but I can also wear in the rest of the year. The only problem is I don't want to make one that's going to be too heavy or too thick. I mean, I do live in Tasmania, which is the little island off Australia. So, I mean, we do have cold winters, but we don't have freezing cold winters. I don't need a jumper, a really, really, really warm and dense jumper that you would probably need in Scandinavia. And so I want something that I can wear a lot. I do have a really lovely Scandinavian jacket that my Danish mother, long story, but when I was younger, when I was 17 and 18, I lived in Denmark for a year as an exchange student. And the family I stayed with, my host mum knitted a lovely Scandinavian red, white and yellowy kind of jacket, and which is super warm and super lovely and absolutely brilliant, but it's not an everyday wear kind of jumper for Tasmania. And so I would like to have something similar, but something that that's not going to be too hot that I can't wear every day. So that means I have to find a pattern that will lend itself to me using yarn that's going to be not too warm when you've got all those strands in the pattern. So it's something I'd have to have a bit of a think about, but I really want a Christmas style jumper. So yes, I have to have a think about that one. So I think that's how many things is that? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Well, that's 11 things that I would probably like to try and get done by the end of the year. I guess if you take the Ranunculus and the knit along shawl out of it, that's 9 things. I don't know how I'll go, but they're the things that I'm thinking I would like to get done by the end of the year. And then I'm sure I will need to make another list for all the little whips that I find hidden around in little bags around the place. So then hopefully that will encourage me to finish those. I've just started watching a few podcasters on the flosstube, which is mainly embroidery and cross-stitch type YouTubes, and because it started to give me some really good inspiration on how I can finish off some of those embroidered pieces that I've done in the past and now just sitting in a big plastic tub with all my other embroidery things. So, I mean, I really like, it's not really something I've really looked into a great deal of what, I mean, I've made some before that I've just framed up and have on the wall. I have some that I had made into little cards. But watching the flosstube podcast has given me a few more ideas about how I could finish off some of those pieces that I've done and what I could maybe do with them. So there's a long queue of things that I would like to get done this year. I'd be really interested to hear what everyone else is. Does everyone else have a list, or do they just go kind of project by project, or do they just keep adding to their projects? Or because I know there's a difference between some people like to have a lot of projects on the go and other people only like to have one or two, or some people just work on one at a time. And here I was thinking that I'm only going to be working on one or two projects, and then realized that actually I've got projects that have been sitting around waiting to be finished for years. So I've got more than one or two things on the go, even though they might be hibernating. Some of them, I need to bring them out and finish them. So yes, big plans for the year. It will be interesting to see when it comes around to Christmas time how far I've got and how good I've been at trying to finish off some of these things and get these things done. I'm kind of excited about it. I think it'll be fun to see how far I can get and how many things have to go back onto the list for next year. Yes. Anyway, I hope that everyone has had a really good week. I hope that people have been able to find some nice relaxing time, some time for themselves, and I hope for people they have a nice Easter break, whether you celebrate Easter or not. I hope you have some nice relaxing time, some nice family time as well, and some great crafting time. And I haven't decided, but at this point in time I'm thinking that I will not be doing the spinning podcast next Monday because it will be Easter Monday, and then just do in 2 weeks come back with my knitting podcast instead, unless I do just like a really short, small kind of spinning update. But I don't think I'll be doing a longer spinning podcast next Monday. And it'll be lovely to hear from everyone and see what everyone's up to. Don't forget, if you like this, to give me the thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, then if you can subscribe, that will help me out and help other people find me. And also, if you're on Ravelry, pop on over to the Bishopstone Yarns group, and we can have a bit of a chat and see what everyone else is up to, and maybe post some pictures of what you're making or what you're doing at the moment. And yeah, and so it'll be lovely to have a chat to everyone. Thanks for watching. Bye.